Wildgoose Podcast audio commentaries.
Thanks to your generous donations to our Kickstarter funding campaign, Clive Barker Podcast presents Fundraiser 3.
Hell on Earth.
So I guess when we're for people out there listening, this is Hellraiser, the first one. So this is not really a lot of stuff to make fun of. Rob and I have the Blu-ray, which has some preview stuff at the beginning. So you want to get all the way past that to the main menu, I guess.
I had mine set up just before the logo for New World Pictures.
Okay, I'm going to push play and see if I can find that spot too.
Okay. We can always edit out any bits if you guys have to go through the previews, because sometimes it's a little annoying when you put on a Blu-ray or a DVD and you have to watch a bunch of previews.
They don't allow you to skip.
Yeah. So what have you guys been up to? I was just finding more stuff for the Bloodline mini doc that we promised on Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you find?
I found another clip of Doug Bradley as Pinhead. And I think this is from the Bloodline year because he has that image animation T-shirt while they're putting the makeup on him. And so it's Doug Bradley playing football, American football, with Gary Tunnicliffe.
I've seen that one.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm gonna add that one too.
That's cool.
The mini doc as well. And I finally figured out with you guys helping and David as well, our friend David, finally figured out the whole mess of the rights of Hellraiser. Ever since they left New World Pictures and then went into that other company that did Hellraiser 3, which was Transatlantic.
Oh,
and
wow.
they also did Hellraiser 4, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so for those watching or listening, I guess, and watching along, we're paused just before the New World Pictures logo.
Mm-hmm.
So who wants to count down?
I can do it, I guess.
All right.
So on the countdown of 3, start play, and we can have this synced up. So 3, 2, 1, play. And that's the New World Pictures logo there. And,
a lot of suspense in this logo.
Yeah. The producer for this movie was Christopher Figg, who was involved with Hellraiser 1 through 3, I think.
And there was a lot of really cool stuff with Christopher Figg on the documentary Leviathan.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see his point of view, which was really neat for a producer, him and Tony Randall.
Mm-hmm.
It was good to see a producer that was very, he really liked Clive's ideas.
Yeah, trusting, I guess.
Yeah, very trusting.
There it is, Clive Barker's Hellraiser. There are no limits.
And it's interesting that Andrew Robinson was like the star power, when they were starting this.
Mm-hmm.
Because he'd been a bad guy in Dirty Harry.
Yeah, it was Scorpio.
These old credits, the Hellraiser films used to do the kind of black or white on black credits.
Mm-hmm.
I thought those were cool.
And I think I've seen a picture, or I heard it in the documentary, the commentary track, I'm sorry, that for Hellraiser 2, that part where the card kind of pushes back and disappears? It was actually a card being pulled back on a little dolly.
I remember hearing that too.
Tony Randall, I think I heard that.
It's cool how practical everything was.
Yeah.
It would be so easy to do that on a computer now.
Mm-hmm. So, here are some of the executive producers. I don't think we ever heard much about these people.
No, just Christopher Figg and Tony Randall.
Yeah.
Maybe they were people from New World. And written and directed by our very own Clive Barker.
Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but I think early on, in the late '80s and early '90s, I think I always believed that this person selling the box was also the homeless guy.
Uh-huh.
And later on, I figured out that's not the same because especially in the Blu-ray, you can tell the detail in it that it's not the same person.
Right, but he does change shape, right? So I could see how that would be.
Yeah,
I could see how that would be an hypothesis that.
Well, and in later like Hellraiser Revelations, they make it the same. The salesman guy is the same person as the vagabond or whatever. And in the comics too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The Puzzle Guardian, sure.
Yeah.
I remember people sometimes pointing out that it looks like Pinhead is behind Frank there when the camera pans down, but it's really just Frank's shadow.
Is that okay? I was always been curious about that. I was gonna bring that up, so thank you.
I think so. If you look at the Blu-ray, I think it's kind of clear.
I think this is a really awesome way to open the movie because it's sort of terrifying, and the first time you're watching this movie, it's like you don't know what's going to happen to this poor guy. And then you kind of go into the sort of mundane stuff, sort of different from like if you look at Alien, where it's like boring stuff for like 40 minutes, and then just sort of hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
But this one, they open up with a punch, and then it's kind of like, okay, you're going to learn later on what all this means.
Yeah, I think Clive did that on purpose. He wanted the audience to feel that punch to the stomach right on the opening to set the tone for the rest of the movie. Yeah. And there's one of the things I really love, even though the special effects kind of hold up a little bit here with the hooks in the skin and stuff, but one of the things I really admire are the shots where you see the light shafts coming out through the broken stucco of the walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that element was used in all the other Hellraisers. Yeah. Even the ones that take place in rooms that are like cinder block rooms or basements.
Yeah. I know.
And like the one with Trevor Hellseeker.
Yeah.
I mean, they go to that morgue basement of the police station, and it's like even though the walls are made out of brick, they still do that thing where the shafts of light come out. And it's like that; those are not stucco walls.
One of those rotating columns was just bouncing back and forth like it was dancing.
Oh.
I liked how Klopp got in some nice sexual imagery with. If you look at some of the one of the columns, you got a couple dildos in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, and this is so gruesome, and they're not. The Cenobites aren't pretty, and I don't know. It's hard to explain, but like he's up to his elbows in blood right now.
Yeah.
And it seems like the character has changed a lot over the years.
I could see that.
Originally, this was a different. They did shoot an original.
The wax face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a wax face that was going to be like they were going to shoot it in fast motion, melting and disappearing under the floorboards. And I think we could see a picture of that wax face in the Japanese program. Yeah. I have a copy of that. And then I think in Leviathan, we sent some pictures to them. I think they used it.
Yeah.
And you could see the big goofy like tongue and the eyeballs and stuff.
It's amazing how little effects things and budgetary things can have such a huge effect on the canon of a series.
Mm-hmm.
Just, things that were, done for practical reasons.
And even those animations that they did for the sparks and the lightning and stuff, although at the end it's a little dated, but I think it works well. Like when he's closing the box and you see those little blue sparks just rushing to get inside the box.
And Clive Barker hand drew all that stuff onto the film.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this is Ludovico Street, which apparently was Dollis Hills Lane, I think, in London. Yeah, people from the Hellraiser podcast went there with Nicholas Vince, and they rented the bus for Hellraiser fans to go there and visit it. So here we are. The old homestead.
Yeah, it's kind of neat the way that they figured out how to film everything. It's basically from being on the landing of the stairs, right? I mean, everything, all these shots or most of them are so close up.
Yeah, I guess they had a hard time, especially because they weren't shooting in an actual set, except maybe some scenes. But I guess when you're in a house that's kind of smallish, you have to figure out how to move the camera, how to place the camera in a way that you're going to have enough depth for your shot.
So I always wondered, because of the Hellbound Heart and the birdcage full of like dead doves, or doves' heads. I always wondered when he pulled that cover back if that's what he saw in there.
Ah, that's interesting because you're going to the novella, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and he wouldn't want to get alarmed because he's already trying to convince Julia that this is a good place to be.
Yeah. How did you guys think? What did you guys think of like Andy Robinson's like obvious American accent, even though he's supposed to have grown up in England? I guess
It's strange.
Yeah.
Well,
this is supposed to be England, right?
Well, he says it's the old homestead. So, and this is definitely England because he told Julia she's back on her own stomping ground or whatever, and
Right.
and he has, and then his brother originally had an English accent, and then they changed it to American so that it made sense.
That's right. You can see like an international trailer for Hellraiser where you can hear Sean Chapman's original voice as Frank. And then they dubbed it over with another guy who also has kind of an American accent.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And on the Scarlet Box set, they talked to Sean Chapman, and he talks about how the dubbing of his voice actually hurt the character in a way. It kind of took away some kind of his performance because he came off more gentle-like, he said, and not so kind of this. The voice they gave him gave him this rough kind of.
Yeah, he's definitely a jerk.
Jerk.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's true. Maybe with the dubbing, he doesn't really come off as seductive to Julia as he would with the original.
Yeah.
True.
I think dubbing in general is always like that.
Yes.
He seems very frank here, and the little nest that he made for himself, it makes him look very nomadic. He's been to a lot of different places, and he's got like Eastern stuff and Western, and he's got pictures with girls that he seduced or whatever around the world. It makes him look almost like a guy who's always like moving around, checking out different countries and cultures.
Also, like how Clive put in earlier, like a shot of a cockroach climbing on on the bed. It kind of just sums up Frank as a character.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's right. And I also, one of the things that he did modified from the Hellbound Heart 2 movie is that I think works really well is turning Kirsty into Larry's daughter instead of Rory's kind of mopey friend.
Yeah, she was in love with him, but she could never have him because he's married to horrible Julia.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit more personal when you add her as the daughter.
Yeah.
More personal and intimate,
Yeah, I mean, in a way, she could, in the Hellbound Heart, she could kind of walk away and be done with it.
Yeah.
But not so in the movie because that was her father. Yeah.
I want to remind our listeners that we did send some questions for Clive Barker to answer on our episode 100, and one of them was about the box. And so let me see if I can find that real quick. Yeah. Where is that? Oh, here it is. Apparently, it was his paternal grandfather was a sailor and sailed to the Far East. So I asked him if that rumor that he brought back a Japanese puzzle box influenced his ideas for the lament configuration, and he said, yes, that is entirely true. I remember that puzzle box sitting on the mantel in my home in Liverpool. Even after I had solved it and seen that there was nothing inside, my imagination ran wild with the possibilities of what could have been in there. So there you go. And, of course, the box was made by Simon Sacy, which we interviewed on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and there's
Oliver Parker.
Peliquin moving the mattress up the stairs.
Yeah.
Who was the other guy moving the mattress?
I don't know.
Oh, dude, I'm going to look it up, see if I can find Moving Man number 2.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever see him in anything again.
Well, they never talk. I thought maybe they'd get him on the, that big documentary too. I mean, he's
why
always
not?
just,
Yeah, they interviewed a lot of people for Leviathan.
Got any beer?
And this scene is something that Clive mentioned. He wanted people to feel uncomfortable when Larry's helping them carry that mattress up.
And they're
here's
ogling her. Julia.
Yeah, right.
So this definitely sets it in London.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like
Okay.
these scenes with her walking.
It kind of feels like it's interesting because it kind of seems like she's new to England. So she moved here with her dad, but she doesn't want to live with him because of Julia.
Yes.
So
Okay, I found out the name of the other moving man. His name is
Okay.
David Atkins.
David Atkins.
David Atkins.
I don't know if there's any relation to Peter Atkins, but he
Yeah,
was
I'll
moving
bet.
man number 1.
Hmm.
So there you go.
Well, there definitely were a lot of Clive's friends in the production of this. I mean, I think the three main actors were all cast, like Kirsty and Julia and Larry.
Mm-hmm. There was that symbolic shot of the religious figurines on the floor outside of the house.
Yeah.
And I think this has been brought up before, not just in fan forums, but I think in other places, that it's like God is being taken out of the picture so hell can come in. I don't know. I think it's a little cheesy to say that, but I understand that interpretation of it.
It works better as kind of a feeling than just trying to explain it, maybe. But
Yeah.
yeah, I see what you mean.
And Kirsty, apparently in her audition for this role, and she was like 17 or something.
Oh, wow.
When she got into the audition, apparently they told her, okay, you're Kirsty, your father's dead, and your uncle's wearing his skin and is trying to have sex with you. Go.
Yeah, and he said not necessarily in that order.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not necessarily in that order.
Yeah, and she did a great job, and it's actually not often that you see a younger person playing and someone older, like a young girl playing an adult. It's usually the other way around.
I like this backstory that they did here with Julie and Frank. They kind of expand a little bit on the second movie, and I'm not even sure if the stuff they put in the second movie with Larry and Julia's wedding, if that wasn't already shot for the first one.
Yeah, I think they said that it was. It was shot for Hellraiser.
Sean Chapman talks about it in that same interview. It's a scene where he gets real mad at the wedding, but Julia kind of, even at the wedding, our own wedding's kind of finding a liking, or she's starting to get some kind of feelings for him.
Okay.
I'd like to see that scene. I'd like to see all that stuff that they shot. Because isn't the sex scene a little bit cut down too? Didn't they originally shoot?
Yeah, there was a MPAA rule about how many thrusts they could have before it wasn't rated R anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, MPAA is in America. I think in England, the guys who said that were the BFCC.
Oh, okay.
The British Film Classification something. They couldn't have more than 2 consecutive thrusts of the buttocks. So he had to cut to like flowers and like the static and the TV and then go back to it or whatever.
I've seen a picture where it's like Clive's directing, Sean Chapman.
Well, is this...
Go ahead.
Is this a British movie or is it an American movie? I mean, I know it's filmed in England, but New World Pictures is in the U.S., right?
That's a good point. It was shot in England, though.
Yeah.
English
it
crew.
was.
Right, well, you could say Nightbreed is an English movie by the same... But...
I guess it's a co-production because at that point, I think New World Pictures was still Roger Corman Company? I think he had sold it by that point, or maybe not.
Had he?
But yeah, I guess the producer was England. Yeah, it's a co-American British production, I guess. More British than American.
Yeah, and they kind of Americanized it for U.S. audiences, kind of like Mad Max.
Oh yeah, like in the second movie, the cops have guns.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's not what happens.
Tony Randall had said that was mainly because he didn't know any better at the time.
Right. So here we have a pretty intense scene with Julie and Frank. Kind of describes their dynamic as It's very kinky.
Yeah, it's strange that she thinks that he loves her.
Right. I guess, she's married to that wishy-washy brother, Larry, and he seems like he would be a real milquetoast, very bland, safe person to marry. And then she meets his brother, who's like exotic, imposing. I wouldn't say charming or dashing because he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, well, and for her, it's weird though. It's not like just an affair or it's just something to do. It's like she's totally nuts for him.
Mm-hmm.
They're making love on his the wedding dress, and
I know.
I've always wondered, why did they get the wedding dress out in the first place? It was like Frank, did he tell her, let's.
I think. Am I crazy, or is there like a shot in Hellraiser 2 as she pretends to show the wedding dress to Frank?
I think that's right. Or maybe she was getting ready for the wedding and about to put it on.
I like that unfolding tattoo there in that shot.
Yeah, I do too. That's cool.
I wish I could get a better view of that tattoo to know if it was meant to be something that we could recognize or just an abstract. Oh, there we go. That nail scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta mention Christopher Young's score during that whole scene. It really is good.
The whole movie is really good. I kind of wonder if this movie would have had the same staying power if it had had the Goblin
Coil?
Yeah, Coil. Sorry.
Coil
the
soundtrack.
Coil soundtrack.
Again, on that Scarlet box set, they actually put some clips of the movie, like the opening with Frank opening the box, with their music to it. It didn't sound that bad.
Yeah.
But again, I mean.
But I don't know. I don't think a soundtrack really holds a movie back. I guess you still, if they're good, you still like them.
Right.
It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
The unreleased themes for Hellraiser was also subtitled "The Consequences of Raising Hell." Was released as an album in 1987 and on cassette and 10-inch vinyl. So I think I might be crazy, but I think I remember seeing on YouTube years ago, like someone had scored like a clip of Hellraiser, the opening.
Yeah, we talked about it on the podcast.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I remember that. So that was okay. I mean, I'm not going to say I do prefer Christopher Young's score.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think it's a cool
cool
artifact.
The second score, the score for the second one.
I kind of feel bad for Larry. Actually, I have the same problem that he does, where I'll pass out if if people are drawing blood from me.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that happen. Yeah.
So
I look at it.
I have to look away.
Yeah, I have to have the nurses talk about something else, and
oh boy,
I can't look and stuff.
I had surgery done on me once with one of those electrical scalpels, and you can hear like the hiss and see the smoke come up from your own flesh, and you're like, holy crap.
Oh, for me, it's
like
just blood. I don't care about that other stuff.
Dude, that sounds like the beginning of Hellraiser 2, and going into that, soul.
Oh, here's one of the scenes from Hellraiser that totally won me over when I saw it the first time.
Yeah. It's amazing to think that this movie almost got made without this scene.
This was added in afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I think originally they were just going to show Frank appearing from the corner of the room and saying, hey, the blood brought me back. Yeah. But then I think it was Tony Randall that said, no, we should have like a scene where we see, the
resurrection.
Let's go back and do a scene with this, and special effects crew said they could do it, so there we go.
And here they gave Clive more money and said, do a reshoot, make this scene. And it worked out really well. And so when you go back to Nightbreed and they're saying, hey, we want to do some reshoots, I can see why he would be trusting, why he would think that was cool. It's like, oh, they want to help make the movie good.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got screwed over with that one. But in this case, everybody was kind of on board, and everybody just wanted to make the movie good.
Of course, this movie was a very low-budget movie, considering, the time and everything. It was like maybe $1 million. I've read somewhere where it was like $900,000.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
And of course, the sad thing about this, and that may have been sad or not, but is that Clive had to give away the rights to Hellraiser to have the money to make it, which of course meant that for other future sequels, Clive Barker was just kind of executive producer.
I remember the figure being like $10,000 he got for the rights to Hellraiser.
Oh, there you go. But on the other hand, do you guys think that Clive would have gone back and make more movies?
No.
On his own?
He's never done a sequel for anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He still would have had somebody else do it.
Of course, it's debatable whether or not the first movie deserved to have sequels done. I like the second one, and I like the third one, all the way to the fourth one, which is deeply flawed, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fourth one is still worth watching.
Yeah. I think the ones that went to the theater, they were pretty good.
Yeah. That is the stupidest trick. The idea that just the idea that he thinks she would be impressed by that is just nuts to me.
Yeah, I know.
It's just stupid things people do in dinner parties.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to burn my tongue.
Yeah.
Going back to that resurrection scene, I miss those old school effects like that.
Yeah.
Just how
Right. Well,
it felt real, and
it would be a shortcut and kind of a travesty to do that in CGI.
yeah.
I think one of the things that, and I'm going to go a little off the rail here, but I think one of the cool things about The Force Awakens was the fact that they had so many practical effects.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they didn't just go like, all right, we'll just use a green screen and make everything like in CGI.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think, a really good choice. And it shows that practical effects are not dead yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you just see it in the actor's performance, but there's always going to be a difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Ewan McGregor didn't like shooting the Star Wars prequels, because that's all it was just this big green screen, and it was hard for him to imagine what they were going to have.
Oh yeah, I think
they didn't even have any kind of he said like just give me a drawing or something, just imagine, but they wouldn't even do that. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes they have like a ball on a stick.
Yeah.
I think, for example, that scene where General Grievous takes out like 4 lightsabers and then he does that weird flippy thing in front of Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's just looking at it. There's no reaction in his face. He's just like, all right, it's just isn't there,
Yeah. I just watched that movie a couple of days ago.
That's
okay.
You can't. It's just really. I think people need to be able to react to things.
Yeah.
And this is great. She comes in here and she actually has somebody in a suit. Now, this was a little boy that played the Frank in the crawling on the floor. Was this
Oh, was it really?
Somebody that I think I couldn't walk up? I believe.
I thought it was Oliver Smith.
No, just the little part with he played this part too. I thought he played the part where Frank, when he first got the part.
Oh, well, you have the Scarlet Box, so I have no idea about that. Ew.
Yeah, it looks like oatmeal.
Yeah, what is that? Is that throw up or just some sort of after effect of him in the resurrection?
It looks like some slime or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is another scene that I remember. One of my first recollections was watching Hellraiser, dubbed in Spanish, in a late night session, and I was flipping through the channels, and then I flipped to a Spanish TV channel, and it was playing this part, and no, it wasn't this part. It was the part where Kirsty is facing Frank, and he says, "It's Frank. It's Uncle Frank." Of course, he was in Spanish, but But I was like, "Holy crap! What is this?" And it was like this dude without a skin, and he was wearing like a jacket, and I'm like, "Oh, this is so cool."
It's T.O. Frank.
Yeah, yeah, Tio Frank, Tio Francisco. I don't know, man. I have like a Cabal Nightbreed version, a DVD version in Italian. It's called Cabal, and it's just hilarious to look at that dubbed in Italian. It really is. And Claire Higgins is a great performer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember seeing a lot more of her in that Young Indiana Jones TV show, I think.
Oh, Wow,
Really?
I think I saw
she
one
was-
episode of that once. I don't remember it very well.
Yeah.
She had a recurring role. That's pretty cool.
I can't say if it was recurring, but I do remember seeing her in that TV show. Maybe it was because, hey, that's the Julia from Hellraiser, and it kind of stuck to my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one thing about the Cenobites that I just want to clear up here, which is most people go to the dictionary, they look at Cenobite and say, oh, it's a monk that lives in a monastic community. And so in Scarlet Gospels, we see the Cenobites as living in this monastery in hell, and they pretty much stay in there all the time and, just do whatever they got to do. But I was researching this, and I realized that actually the Cenobites are a class of monastic monks that actually stress the community life. And so they would go out in the community and they would deal with the villagers and make a church for the villagers to go to and, go into the field, so to speak. So they weren't just monks that stayed in the monastery. Those were called hermits or hermetic monasticism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So people usually think that that's just the thing that the dictionary says, and they just imagine the Cenobites as living in these little monkish cells. But it makes sense because the Cenobites cross over into our reality, so they do get out of hell and they do come into our world. So, that shot is so cool. I think originally Frank was supposed to have more stages, more preliminary stages of his body. He was supposed to be really dry and look like a dissected corpse.
Or like a mummy.
Yeah. It was supposed to be first a puppet, and then they would go to the person in the suit. But I think they found out that wasn't working very well, so they cut that part out.
I always thought the Puzzle Guardian in the hermit human form was Alan Moore for the longest time. It looks just like him.
Yeah, there was a rumor about that.
Yeah.
Some people asked if it was Clive Barker.
Yeah.
He doesn't really appear in his own movies.
Yeah, he does appear in The Pillar of Souls, I think. Or was that cut? I think that was cut.
Yeah, it was in part 2.
There was a picture of Clive's face on the pillar, but I think just the picture remains. Well, that's romantic. Kissing in a dirty subway.
I
know.
They don't call it the subway, right? They call it, in England, they call
tube.
it... The tube. Yeah.
I love listening to Larry here.
Julia is angry that that IKEA bed is very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like this shot right here. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
How many rats are in there?
Yeah.
What is the deal with this house? They have like 20 rats in the attic.
I got to hand it to Julia. She, I would be disappointed with living in that house as well.
Yeah.
Just look at the top floor. Jesus Christ. And rats and cockroaches. And now they need to call the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, so far he just said, you need to help me, and she thought about it, and she said, I'll do it without even knowing what it is she needs to do to help him.
That's a good point there.
This was the first movie talking about technology and how it's grown and how DVD and Blu-ray are cool to see certain films from the past get, new transfers of. This was the first film I saw on Blu-ray, and I was amazed at seeing all the detail, like the makeup.
Sure.
The little things.
Yeah.
And when you see...
seeing the face of the guy selling the puzzle box, too.
Yeah.
I think it was
for the longest time, I mean, I had a VHS of Hellraiser, and
me too.
The quality of VHS was terrible.
Yeah. It always had tracking problems.
Even just having it in widescreen is nice.
What do you guys think about this scene here? It's kind of weird. I always thought it was a little strange.
It's something I like Clive Barker would do.
Yeah. I think he was definitely trying to just create, like, this is what a weird dream you would have. But it's a little prophetic because, Larry is in trouble, but not for
That's
a
right.
long time. I mean, he's not in immediate danger.
And I like the
Yeah.
edit there because it's like it cuts to it. You think it's her dream, but is it him having the dream?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
it was an interesting edit.
Oh man, I know this movie by heart, but I keep forgetting the name of that character that turns out to be Kirsty's boyfriend.
Steve.
Steve, that's it.
Steve,
I guess Steve wasn't good enough because she ended up marrying Trevor.
yeah.
That doesn't. I don't count that as Hellraiser canon. I mean, I don't even know what Hellraiser canon is, I guess, but
Right. So I found a picture of behind the scenes on that dream sequence for Kirsty. I'll try to put that in the show notes. There's like the crew around, and there's all the candlesticks and the mannequin on the table and Kirsty. And I think Clive Barker's in that picture too. It's a picture I really never saw until recently.
See that shot right there, Frank?
yeah.
Uh-huh.
I could never make that out on a VHS copy.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was beautiful.
Because it was too dark.
Yeah.
So is he looking out the window up there right now? I mean, can you see him from down below? Probably
Yes.
not.
Well, Rob was talking about the one in the,
Oh, I know.
stairs.
I know. Yeah.
I wonder if this bar still exists.
Is this a set? I mean, it kind of looks like a set.
Kind of looks like one, yeah. I don't know. Reminds me of the same architecture that you see in Chenard's house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It does. That kind of white,
Yeah.
Yeah. You're probably right. It looks like a set.
Well,
Yeah,
and why
look at-
is there a
look-
staircase going up to like a balcony or something up there?
It's an Apple store.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Man, look at those shoulder pads. They're awesome.
Oh, and he's got that horrible little tuft of hair right in the center of his forehead.
Yep. This guy kind of reminds me a little bit of Chris Figg.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit. Yeah, it kind of looks like them.
If we ever have Chris Figg on the show, you got to tell him that.
Yeah. It's also, there's sort of an interesting, the dramatic irony here is that we know that she's nervous because she has to murder him,
Mhm.
but he thinks she's nervous because she's cheating and she's going to get caught. Or maybe, having a moral dilemma about maybe I shouldn't be cheating or whatever.
I wasn't really sure if she was going to go through with it. I mean, I guess for the story,
Yeah.
she's going to, but I was always like,
She's
Did she really do
she's
it?
really she's really close to backing out on the whole thing. There's an interesting moment here where he says like, is it like Jesus Christ, you're not going to change your mind, are you?
yeah, right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, he kind of becomes a little too aggressive in the scene. It
And
kind of
that-
adds to the tension.
Yeah, well, and it also makes up Julia's mind for her. It's like, okay,
Yeah, like,
you're a
got
jerk.
that.
You just made this easy for me.
Here's something that Clive said about some moments that really stood up for him during the production. He says, the moments which were really exciting were the major cockroach scenes, which I really liked. We had American cockroaches brought in, passports, visas, the whole thing. They were big, fat ones. We had a roach wrangler, yes. They cool down in the refrigerator because then they get sluggish. We had Tupperware, the ultimate Tupperware container, your roach Tupperware container in the fridge. You open the door and you got this sort of shh noise while they were all crawling over each other. They weren't mating because they were all male. You're only allowed to bring in males because that way if they escape, they can't procreate. Somewhere in customs, there's probably a roach sexer. This was Clive at UCLA on February 25, 1987. Thanks to clivebarker.info for having all these awesome interviews. So yeah, I think this movie also got really big in Japan, especially because of Julia. Because Julia is kind of like a killer, and she's kind of this object of desire, but at the same time, she's a predator.
Yeah.
And usually Japanese tend to think of women as being more subservient, so it kind of calls to their Japanese kinks, I guess.
Yeah. So where is he right now that he can't see him?
Yeah, it seems like there is maybe a broom closet or something. I always wondered if there was he kind of steps out of somewhere.
He can't be just sitting in this corner, but it
Right.
seems that way.
You think he'd make a comment about the smell in the room too? I mean,
Yeah.
Oh wow. What a
Yeah,
mistake.
this room is disgusting. Can we go somewhere else?
Yeah.
And it's also interesting that they switched to a hammer instead of a knife like in the novella. A hammer this is probably more grisly than if it was a knife.
Mm-hmm.
Now his face is all smashed in.
Now there was some cut gore there too. They had to cut out, didn't they? I think maybe they asked them.
I think so, yeah. Yeah. That's the way they put that spatter of blood on her face is really cool.
Yeah. Don't look at me.
Yeah.
She's like, all right, I got stuff to do, so I'll see you.
Those earrings are so tacky, though.
It's the 80s.
Yeah.
I know.
Love it.
Am I crazy, or is there a sound like someone sucking through a straw when
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
you hear that noise?
Yeah.
It's really unsettling.
So do you guys think Frank is a vampire?
This kind of has a vampire,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's sucking the blood.
Yeah. And what is it about, getting sent to hell and coming back that makes you a vampire? It's kind of interesting that there are these mysteries in this movie that don't really get solved like that.
He's kind of not just a physical vampire, but also an energy vampire. It's he turns the bodies into husks. And in the novella, the whole room seems to do that as well. It's she kills the guy and then she hasn't seen Frank in physical form yet, only he came out of the masonry of the wall and he says, "I'm Frank, blood," and then he disappears. And that's when she realizes she needs to offer blood to release him. And when she kills the first guy, it's the room that turns into kind of like a furnace and she sees the energy flow out of the corpse and the corpse starts becoming smaller and shriveling. And then that's when Frank comes out of the wall. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting here that, he's all excited about how much better he is and she's just disappointed. I thought that would do it. I can't,
Yeah.
How come you're not finished?
Yeah.
In Hellraiser 2, it takes a lot more for Julia to become human again.
Yeah, it's there's 8 women or something.
Yeah, 8 bodies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless we want to believe that those bodies were killed by Dr. Chenard. But, yeah. So, yeah, Oliver Smith played Frank the Monster, and he was a really skinny guy. Just like Deborah Joel, who played Julie in the second movie.
Yeah.
I wonder how many pieces that suit was in. I know they streamlined it a little bit more for Deborah Joel playing Julie in the second one, but I wonder how long it took for Oliver Smith to get all that stuff put on him.
You'd think that Julia would have given herself a little more time, before Larry got home.
Yeah, maybe she was trying to pick up guys and she wasn't having any luck.
Yeah, that could be.
He's carrying this corpse with socks on.
Yeah. Yeah. She just brought him into the bathroom.
This was a little house in Cricklewood, and Clive said, "Doing a low-budget movie in a house in Cricklewood is the equivalent of the 8-quid play. Actually, I'd go further. Low-budget movie making is fringe theater, except that you can actually get the audience number I always wanted to get. It's what fringe theater claims to be and so often isn't. Non-elitist, populist. I saw Hellraiser a couple of months ago in a grindhouse on 42nd Street, and the audience, when they weren't making out in the back row, was really voluble. They were screaming at Kirsty, 'Get out of the fucking house, you dumb bitch!'" This was, Peter Atkins and Clive Barker's Shadows in Eden. I always loved to see Hellraiser in the big screen. When I was living in Portugal, we had this fantastic film festival called Fantasporto. considered by Variety to be one of the top 25 most important film festivals in the world. And they had a tradition that every single year there would be like a session with Hellraiser or Hellraiser 1 and 2. And that was actually the first time I met Doug Bradley, because he went there like 2-3 times, maybe 4. So that was really cool.
Oh, yeah, I think I seen you took a picture with him, didn't you?
It looks like there's one of those veins is actually drooping down over the top of the jawbone there.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It's kind of an oops, I guess.
Image Animation, who did the effects for this film, and they were great effects, but they weren't happy with this suit. They really.
Oh, really?
They really were not, pleased with it. And for the second film, they really wanted to work on when they did the Julia Resurrection.
Yeah.
They really wanted to get a much better suit.
I don't think it's that bad. I mean, especially
either.
when they put the slime all over it, it doesn't.
I think one of the things that was better in the second one is that when they put slime over Julia, they made the slime kind of reddish instead of just clear.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes it look a little more realistic, I guess. I don't know. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to live close to the market, and whenever I went there, I would see at the butcher shop like these skinned rabbits like just hanging from hooks, and they always had that little bit of like red slime like dripping out of their snouts and stuff. It's just awful. Always reminded me of Hellraiser.
So do you think that it just takes a lot of bodies to make skin, and that's why he wants to take a shortcut and just take Larry's skin? Because with Julia, she got her own skin back, but then they had to use a lot of bodies for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. You see that in Julia's in Hellraiser 2 when she's getting her skin patches fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't even get finished until she kills Kyle.
Every single customer in this pet store is a jerk.
Yeah, I know.
Whenever I see Kirsty in the pet store, I always wonder when Sylvester Stallone is going to come in and ask her out on a date.
What movie was that?
Yeah,
Rocky.
Oh, it was Rocky.
Oh, sorry. God. Yeah. Good catch.
I was thinking of Over the Top with the arm wrestling.
Oh, God. The other day I found like there's a sports channel that plays like arm wrestling now.
Uh-huh.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
When I wrote a story and made this fake box for the Pyramid Gallery website, at the end, I kind of made a box that would connect to Rasputin, the crazy monk from Russia.
Yeah.
And at the end, I said that some people said that they have seen Rasputin on several occasions, and I put a picture of this guy, the derelict.
He looks like Rasputin.
Yeah, he kind of does.
Yeah, it really does.
It's kind of interesting he turned into a skeleton dragon in the middle of the daylight and just flew away. One would assume, because he made wing flapping sounds.
What was the story behind that? What was the story behind that dragon? That it was left over from another production or something? Legend?
I thought they had designed it, because it doesn't even have eye holes or anything.
Okay. Because I thought I heard something that it was from another production, but they just thought, hey, let's use this.
Yeah,
but
there was even something in Leviathan where they talked about how they had used a skull or they'd used horns from one animal, and then they made the skull, but it doesn't have any eyes. Like the horns are coming out of the eye sockets.
Right.
Here she just really looks evil. She's
she totally turned a corner, and now she's a different character.
She's the evil queen.
Her earrings have changed.
Yeah.
Too. They're not so tacky.
I would have liked to see more interaction between her and Frank.
Yeah, dude.
Showing us kind of like the time going by and she killing more guys and him, they kind of do a little montage, but it's...
She doesn't really want to hang around with him until he's finished.
I guess. It would have been really awkward if Larry went to the bathroom and he found his brother there sitting on the porcelain throne, like, oh, sorry, my bad.
This is the kind of stuff I miss from the series. It's just these weird little moments like this.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't want to take time with anything.
Yeah.
Oh, here we are.
Well, except for people thinking they're dreaming or thinking they're awake when they're really dreaming. They like to waste a lot of time with that.
Yeah.
So I think that when he explains who the Cenobites are here, there was supposed to be these little depictions of the Cenobites in their little monkish cells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they would have like all these like tortured things, and I think that kind of reflects a little bit on the poster for Hellraiser, because Pinhead is standing in a place that's like dark, but there's like this. It looks like almost like a tool shed.
Yeah, it's like a pegboard on the wall for hanging tools.
Yeah, but it works. It doesn't look too tacky. It actually works.
Clive said he never thought about Hellraiser as a series when he wrote.
Yeah.
When he was doing Hellraiser, the script, he thought of it as a series. And I'm always curious, like, was he a big fan of the labyrinth that was created in Hellbound? I mean, what was his? Yeah, a whole different take on hell, because he wrote a different take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's what he would have done, but I think he likes it. I mean, I think
Yeah, that was done with Peter Atkins with plenty of feedback from Clive, so I would say he was probably happy with it.
Yeah.
I just remember reading in a Fangoria issue where he kind of was like saying like it was a movie he wouldn't have made or something like that.
Oh, sure. I mean, Hellbound is also very flawed because of the cut in the budget when Black Monday hit or something like that.
Well, and a lot of last minute changes to the script too made it a little strange.
Yeah.
But we're going to do a commentary on that one too.
Yeah, and also because Clive doesn't really like to do sequels, like Ryan was saying. He kind of does something, moves on to the next one. Sometimes even before that thing is published.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you see all these like unpublished manuscripts at Seraphin and Clive Barker's house, and it's like, man, I wish he would just go back to these things and polish them a little more and release them.
Yeah.
But obviously he's always looking for the next thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's why he's got a staff of people to help get those things out.
That's right.
That's why we've had all these little limited releases of stuff.
I love this scene because it really scared me when I was a kid, because you don't know what Frank's going to do.
Yeah.
And I like how he throws in these little shots of Frank standing there.
I think we all kind of knew even the first time watching this that Larry's days were numbered, I guess, but we didn't know when it was going to happen. I think that's the sort of suspenseful part.
Another cool story that I'm not sure if a lot of people know about it is that the rats that you were talking about, there's a scene coming up with Frank slicing up a rat.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because Chris Fick's track for this moment is the Rat Slice Quartet.
Right. Christopher Young.
And there was a problem with the BFCC as well because they thought that the rat was real, and they had to go there to the office and show them the animatronic rat and say, "See, no, it's not real rats that we nailed to the floor and sliced open. It's just an animatronic rat."
Yeah,
because they didn't believe it.
Testament to the special effects people, image animation.
Like those guys.
Yeah.
So when was your first screening of Hellraiser? What do you remember about it?
I saw it. My brother had gotten a 2-pack for Christmas as a Christmas gift.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was the first two like in a double set.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I saw it, was on these really bad kind of VHS quality tapes, and
that's cool. That was a double pack. That way you could watch the two as a double feature, which is something I would advise people to do.
I saw Hellraiser 2 first also. I was trying to get caught up with Clive Barker because I just sort of discovered him only a little bit ago, and I was reading every book, and I had already read the Hellbound Heart, and I was going to read Hellraiser at one of my Dungeons and Dragons groups because we would play Dungeons and Dragons and then watch movies all night. Uh-huh. And I wanted to rent Hellraiser, and they all talked me out of it and said, "No, you got to see Hellraiser 2. That's the better one." So I saw Hellraiser 2 first.
That's weird. So you saw the movies after you read the book.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, my experience was not that. I mean, I think a lot of people saw the movie first and then read the book. But I wonder how that affected your viewing of the movie.
It made it easier. I mean, just knowing kind of what was going to happen.
I love this shot of Frank with the lightning like shining on his face.
I thought that was real. That doesn't look real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a grisly scene.
And Larry does not notice anything at all.
Yeah, it's great.
That's how stupid men get when they have a boner.
Yeah.
He's just hiding in the closet. I love it. I just love it.
Andrew Robertson's really good in this. I think he plays the really stupid husband. But then when he changes to Frank later on, it just gets you believe it. I mean, he changes into that character.
Yeah. Except for the voice.
Yeah. Yeah, voice. Every time I watch this scene, I want to go to eat some Chinese.
So this scene is kind of taken out of the novella. I think he does have a meeting with Kirsty.
Yeah.
Oh, is that when Kirsty wants to tell him that she saw Julia go into the house with men?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very, interesting father-daughter dynamic here.
It kind of feels like nowadays a Hellraiser sequel, they wouldn't waste time with something like this, which is too bad.
Yeah.
I think we get a lot of really good character development in this movie that you don't see in the later ones.
You get the feeling that Larry kind of settled for Julia, or
Yeah. And she's nowhere near as good as Kirsty's mother.
Yeah, we never really hear a lot about her, though.
No.
We see a picture of her in Hellraiser 2, briefly.
But it does seem like Julia's pretty awful. I mean, Kirsty can't stand being around her.
She's just one of those people who kind of sucks the fun out of everything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've got the action figure of Frank. It comes with rats, too.
Oh, yeah, and a knife, right?
Yeah, and a knife.
Yeah, from the Nika ones, I think I have Julia. I have one Pinhead who's holding a little box. And I think I have Chatter, too, the one with the eyes.
Oh,
that was a limited edition. And what else? I think I have Angelique and a...
Your voice is your voice is kind of messing up, Jose.
Yeah. Still there, man?
Yeah, but I'm still here.
Okay, I just want to make sure
Do I sound okay now?
Kind of, yeah. So I think this guy was the evangelical guy in the novella, right? I think he's sort of the analog of that guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but they don't go into all of his religious rantings in the movie like they did in the novel.
It's kind of hypocritical of him, though.
Yeah.
Because he went home with another woman. See, there's a column there that Frank hides.
Oh, okay. Yeah, or maybe it's a closet with no closet doors.
Yeah.
This guy was pretty tough to kill, though.
Yeah.
He took a hammer shot to the hand.
Yeah, and he wants to use her as a human shield.
Yeah.
Quick trivia: Oliver Smith, who played Frank the Monster, also did the. He was the narrator voice for a lot of TV spots on British television. I think he was still doing that. Recently.
Was it Sky TV?
Or Sky? I think, yeah, maybe. And he also narrated Leviathan, the documentary.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the first scene ever I saw from this movie. Es tío Frank.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you were talking about Frank being a vampire, and it's how does he suck the blood out of people, right? Because he sticks his fingers on the back of the head.
Yeah, so through his fingertips somehow he's...
I guess, yeah. Hey, we could start, the cool thing about the old internet forums was when you would just meet other people who also like the same movies that you did, and then you guys would start creating these fan theories and fan fiction. That's kind of what I miss about,
I do too, man.
The 90s Hellbound web and stuff like that. Is you'd be talking to people who would be like, maybe he builds his body from scraps of like hellish material, and that's why he's a vampire now. And
Yeah.
I know it's all hokey stuff, but it was fun when we were younger to come up with explanations for that.
Yeah, there's something about that versus having all of the information available to you all the time.
Speculate about Frank's demonic nature.
Yeah. Frank's like, okay, I can't let you have him. Sorry. I'm not done with him yet. And in the novella, Frank grabs his lower jaw and rips it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, just back into that room, why don't you?
Yeah.
This is a creepy scene.
Yeah, right. What would Julia think if she saw that?
Yeah.
What can you do?
I mean, I like Ashley Lawrence's performance in the movie, but in this scene, it comes off a little forced.
Mm-hmm. There are some shots in this movie that you could just they look like paintings, and this is one of them. When he's pinning Kirsty against the wall, and the lighting is just great.
Yeah.
Oh, my liver.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, he's obviously there's some superhuman stuff about him. He's got maybe superhuman strength, and he's okay getting his stomach ripped out.
Kirsty's a character that can kick some ass, She
Yeah.
can take care of herself. Which during that time, there was these 80s, slasher films with a lot of mostly dumb kind of women that were just want to show off their.
Yeah, and basically all the slasher victims in this movie are just those men that Julia brought back from the bar, which is not typical at all.
Oh yeah, that's kind of cool that you bring up a good point. Clive kind of turned the whole thing on its head. He made it men rather than women.
And then you get to like Hellraiser 8 and they turn it into a normal slasher film with all these stupid teenagers and stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if Kirsty's wardrobe in this scene was just a white T-shirt on purpose, just to be easier to buy a bunch of them.
Yeah, that could be.
And just to make the blood stand out more as well.
I think so.
Because she's only wearing mom jeans and a white T-shirt, and it looks like so plain.
Yeah, and those nuns could have been more helpful.
Shit, just looked at her.
They just made a face at her.
Yeah, I know.
So she's probably a druggie.
Yeah.
It's like the adrenaline rush is over, and she's kind of crashing here.
Rob, in your retro review of Hellraiser, you had said at this point that you thought it was kind of like Frank was a poisonous character that sort of made her pass out.
Oh, that's an interesting take on it.
That's one of my shot right here. One of those the flower blossoming.
I
thought it was kind of creepy.
Well, and it also is sort of symbolizing her waking up from the dream. It's cool.
They do repeat the blooming flower things further down the movie. Like the nurse is looking at something like that right now.
Yeah, I know. It's funny that it's like that's what she watches on TV. Time lapse. Video of flowers.
It's very stylized. It's like whoa.
I love this doctor. Get back into bed.
I wish they had done for this scene what they did in the novella, which is an Cenobite actually visits Kirsty in the hospital room, and he tells her that nobody else can see me, only you can see me.
Yeah, which may still be true, but we would never know because none of the doctor or the nurse aren't there with him.
Right, she opens the box by herself.
Yeah.
I remember seeing on eBay the original negatives for some scenes that they shot, some promo stills that they shot of the box, like on the sheet of the bed and stuff. And I'm sorry I didn't bought those because those are pretty cool.
So, why do you think they locked her in here because they're waiting for the police to get there?
Yeah.
So, but she manages to escape. Do the Cenobites just teleport her somewhere else?
Well, she goes into hell, right? And then she comes out, and that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
We'll watch and see if we can find it again. I mean, but it just seems like she goes from being in here to going back to the house.
That's a good point.
So, yeah, and here you can see a little bit of time's gone by, right? Because she was sitting with it, and now she's lying down.
Yeah, and they do that time-lapse dissolve thing between shots.
Yeah, so it's taken her a long time to open the box, which fits with the novella, but is not...
Although we don't really see her manipulate the box that much. She's just kind of like just touching and poking the box.
And that could be just a budget thing, because there's not a whole lot they could do with that prop.
Yeah. And here's another thing, another element that would be reproduced in all the other sequels is when someone opens the box, then a wall breaks and there's an opening.
So you do see that hallway looks like the labyrinth in Hellraiser 2. So I think they and I guess you could say they were just expanding on that.
They use that as a template,
Yeah.
I always thought also this, where she's at the hospital, when I watched Hellraiser, the films back to back, I always thought this was the Channard Institute.
Oh, this hospital?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess watching them back to back made me think of that, but obviously they're not.
It could be, right? It could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be out of the...
Far-fetched, would it?
And then, and that would explain why they lock her in her room.
I like the lighting here. It's very Dario Argento.
Yeah, well, and this is a really suspenseful scene because you don't know what's going to jump out at her.
Until you see the wheels on the engineer.
Yeah, I still love the engineer. I think he's awesome.
I know.
And actually, nobody ever knew about the wheels until recently, I think, because of the high definition and stuff.
Yeah.
The way I found about it was I was listening to the commentary on the old Laserdisc. Clive said it. He would have never noticed it.
God, I love that monster. It's just so awesome. And then they even did the eyes that the pupils open.
Oh yeah, that cart behind it is really visible on the high definition.
I think it was Warwick Sacey who was pushing this cart. I think.
And Little John was running the arms, the upper arms, right, which are sort of like the legs.
Yeah.
It's funny. This scene shows up if you've ever seen the movie Basic Instinct. This shows up
on the TV.
Michael Douglas is watching this.
Yeah. That's kind of
when he wakes up and that's playing on the TV, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Paul Verhoeven's a big Clive Barker fan. That's why he put that in there.
That's cool. And it was a neat change because in the novella the engineer was just like the other Cenobites, but he had a wedding veil on his head. No, he had a pyramid of light for a head.
His head was like a cone of light. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this scene as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of going back. That kind of shot goes back to the early days.
And here she's like, "Oh God, what have I done this time?"
Hey, where's that blood coming from? I'm going to have to look for the door in the room for Kirsty in the Channard Institute and see if it's the same door.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I guess that's another thing that you don't see happening anymore in Hellraiser sequels, like the weird stuff happening in the rooms when they appear, like that sack just filled up with blood, or like at the ending when they're scraping the wall and the wall is bleeding.
Mm-hmm. I always wondered why Cheddar puts his fingers in Kirsty's mouth. I wonder if it's kind of like a sexual thing.
Yeah,
I know that sometimes...
Yeah, they don't want people to come in the room, so he's trying to keep her quiet, maybe?
Yeah, okay, yeah. And of course, Clive said that here, usually when monsters appear in other horror movies, they appear in the darkness and you never really see them because it fuels the imagination. But here he wanted to do something where Cenobites would be bathed in light, and you would see every little inch of them. And I think it really works because they're so amazing. Their designs are so awesome that it really works.
We can't not alone.
The person who designed the suits for the Cenobites was Jane Wildgoose. And she had been familiar with Clive Barker's work since the days of the Dog Company, when she also worked to make costumes for theater plays. So here's something that Jane Wildgoose talks about Hellraiser in her website. She says, Clive's initial suggestion had been that the costume should be based on abattoir clothing, something between a butcher's outfit and a monk's habit, he told her. Jane had been introduced to the delights of Piercing Fan's International Quarterly, which helped to focus her thoughts. So Clive gave her a few magazines of PFIQ for her to take some ideas from the modern primitive movement and the people who like to do piercings and stuff like that. So it says here, the idea evolved that if the Cenobites were self-mutilating seekers of extreme pain and pleasure, they would be exercising an extreme form of narcissism. And my aim was to produce costumes that reflected their obsession with pain and mutilation, but which would also be perversely stylish. She used some of the anatomical drawings of Vesalius as a model, and then Clive said that he liked the distressed leather kind of material.
I think that Pinhead's black teeth don't ever come back either.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I've always enjoyed that. His teeth were kind of...
Yeah, I mean, they're sort of like undead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, the female Cenobite was supposed to be different in some of the first drawings. She was to wear the framework of a Victorian bustle, like a cage on her lower back, in which she carried the mummified body of her baby, Brilliant, and vetoed by producers.
Oh, that sucks. I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff here. I'll add this to the show notes so I don't take over if you guys want to talk about this scene.
I was just going to comment on the previous scene. I think that's probably Doug's the nastiest portrayal of the character. He just comes off as really mean.
Something also that was different between the movie and the poster was Pinhead's eyes. Because in the poster you see Doug Bradley's blue eyes, but here they have those black lenses.
Yeah.
And looking at the pictures from the new Hellraiser that's going to come out, Judgment, you see that Gary Tunnicliffe went back to giving Pinhead all those big black eyes.
But it almost looks like they're eye holes in a Halloween mask.
Yeah.
It looks awful. I mean,
he also changed the costume around a little bit. He did some kind of new opening around the chest area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if Pinhead was supposed to appear again in other movies, I don't know. I think I would like to see the same suit because it seems to me like this is a creature that doesn't change too much.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe the Cenobites change themselves more often than we imagine.
It would be if it's sewn through their skin, it would be pretty tough to change all the time.
That's a good point.
But I kind of wish they would just retire Pinhead and do new Hellraiser stories.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not going to hire Doug Bradley anymore,
then retire the character.
Retire the character, yeah.
And they think, oh no, we need Pinhead because he's the star. But it's like, but you're making horrible movies like 9 and 10. I mean, we don't know for sure about 10, but we can kind of guess that it's going to be similar.
Sure.
I don't think that the star power of Pinhead is doing anything for those two movies.
Here's what Doug Bradley had to say about the suit. He says, Jane's costume was as magnificent as I had expected. Comfortable, it wasn't, but it all worked in my favor. The tight, restricting leather jacket with a high, unwielding collar forced me to stand in exactly the stiff, regal posture I wanted. Movement had to be slow and deliberate. So this is a quote from his book Sacred Monsters, Behind the Mask of the Horror Actor.
When I first saw this, I was like, I knew something was wrong with.
Oh yeah.
Of course, because he's got blood all over his scalp.
Yeah. Well, and he had said, "What I need is a new skin," and then she went and showed him something. So I don't know. I think do the audience at this point all know what happened except for Kirsty? Everybody knows.
Well, he also implies that he's wounded because he fought with Frank to kill him.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
I had to put him down, baby. A mad dog.
He just comes across as such a different person.
Yeah.
It's not Larry. And I love the little, if you look at his hand, there's different patchwork of hand. The skin doesn't match.
And the part where he adjusts his the skin around his eye.
Yeah, and it makes that noise.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of it's all in the audience's mind because there's no special effects there. It's just him pushing the skin a little to the side and letting it go. And it's obviously his own skin, but it looks like he's actually adjusting it because of the sound they edited into it.
That was actually Andrew Robinson came up with that idea.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. There's a few things he came up with when he turned to Frank. He did the line, enough of the cat and mouse shit, and
yeah. And I think that I don't think that he would say, "Yeah, Julia, go." I mean, if it was really Larry, he wouldn't say, "Oh yeah, you go show her. I'm going to hang out down here for a while."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
But it would be tough for. I mean, in Kirsty's defense, it would be really tough for her to guess that somehow Larry killed him and took his skin, and now he talks just like him.
You know, if Hellraiser was done today, they would probably turn the engineer into like a CGI beast and have him jump from one corner of the room to the other and walk upside down on the walls and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not looking forward to the remake.
Oh, yeah.
If there ever is a remake.
Right.
They'll just keep talking about it forever and then churning out these horrible movies every 5 years.
Now that's the first time Doug ever spoke a line of Pinhead?
Yeah, that is it. His first line of Pinhead, and maybe his first line on set.
This is the most powerful scene with the Cenobites. I love that.
Yeah. Was that we want the man who did this.
Yeah, and I like that lighting better than the hospital lighting on them.
Yeah. So when I saw Doug in one of those late night screenings of Hellraiser, he told the audience about that line and how he couldn't see anything in the dark lighting, and he had the black lenses on, and there was a 2x4 or something on the floor that he would bump into it, and he would know that would be his mark.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Come to daddy.
Now she's like, oh, wait a minute.
Do you guys remember that music? I think it's from Aphex Twin. It's Come to Daddy.
No.
Oh, God, yeah. That's a freaky little video of those kids.
That's a freaky video.
Kids with, adult faces or something.
Yeah. That's great practical makeup.
Yeah. So do you guys think that Frank kills Julia right here on purpose?
I think he just doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, but he likes Kirsty better because she's younger. Right? So he could easily just say, I'm going to act like I'm going to stab Kirsty, but I'm really going to stab Julia.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's do you think maybe he was going to take Kirsty as some kind of a slave or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think he.
That's I never thought about that, but you raise a really good point. Because he doesn't seem to go oh no, that's not what I wanted to do, and chase Kirsty around. He stays there and he takes his time, and he even sucks the life out of Julia.
Yeah.
So yeah. When he did that to Julia, I thought his face would get fixed when I first saw the movie.
Well, and we do know for sure that he really is only in this for himself, and he just wants to be able to get away from the Cenobites.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really care about Julia. Man, that upstairs is so small. It's just the attic room and the storage room and the bathroom, and that's it.
But it seems like there's like 3 floors to this house.
Are there?
Right?
Yeah.
There's like the bottom floor. There's like a top floor with a bathroom, and then there's the attic. Right?
So
maybe the bedrooms are on the 2nd floor.
Right, yeah, maybe that's what it is. Like, oh, maybe I can hide in this closet. Nope.
Surprise Jesus.
Yeah, spring-loaded Jesus.
Yeah,
I can't hide in here.
Boing.
How about...
Well, God,
yeah,
that's completely taken out of the house.
Yeah, how about right here? This looks like a good spot.
It's kind of like a former antique collector. Yeah, those little figurines they put outside, they look pretty crummy and broken and stuff. But
so that must be Frank and Larry's parents had all that crap.
Yeah, but that big Jesus statue, you could sell that for some money.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, maybe this is a good place to hide.
Yeah, I just would have began tearing the place apart in that room to find her because, I mean, there's no other...
Yeah, it's a pretty small place. Like, oh, no, this was a bad spot, too.
Oh, that's gross.
I like the fact that corpse just comes out of the shadows and then goes, like, right back into the shadows.
Did she push it back in? Or just...
No, it just kind of did it itself.
Okay.
It's a little gratuitous, yeah. It's a little gratuitous.
That's the first guy that Julia killed, too.
He does have the dislocated jaw where she hits him in the face with the hammer.
Yeah.
So it kind of seems like Kirsty's just kind of broken right now, and she's sort of lost her will to hide, and she's just going to walk right out onto the...
Like her dad is dead.
Yeah.
She's being chased by a monster from hell, and she just saw a woman get murdered.
And a corpse just vomited maggots all over. Yeah. And so she's feeling a little bit hopeless, I guess.
I guess this is the point where Peter Atkins was listening to the Grindhouse Theater people say, "Get out of the house, you dumb bitch!"
Oh.
I guess this episode is going to have an explicit tag.
Yeah, but it's kind of... I think this works. I mean, it's... I think Kirsty's pretty believable.
Oh, yeah.
The only point where I think we should have better effects, and I wish they could go back and fix it, is when Frank is chained, and then he kind of explodes.
Oh yeah.
I don't like the way they did that. The edit is a little like clunky. I wish they could have fixed that and made it better.
Didn't they have to cut the shot? They put it in the unrated version of Hellbound where Frank's face, you see it actually split in two, and then it goes to an explosion.
Yeah.
Oh. And this, you're right.
I always thought his whole head comes off and hits the door, because you do hear a thump.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what it's supposed to happen, yeah.
That's what happened, at least in the novella, that's what it is.
And they also kind of brought that death back in Hellraiser Bloodline when that black space marine, he gets like his face chained and then it just kind of pulls apart.
So at this point, those chains are just blocking his way, right? Yeah, they're not in him.
Yeah. We're back. Yeah, something that people have forgot to make chatter in other movies.
And also he has little chains holding his lips back, and those disappear later on too.
Oh God, don't get me started on the later Chatterer, because the later Chatterer, it seems like they cleaned him up too much. You guys remember that Nika bust? There was a Chatterer bust. There was this giant piece. And the Chatterer face is so clean and so smooth. He doesn't even have any ears or anything. It's just weird.
I like Pinhead's makeup in this. It really looks like dead skin. Instead of in the other ones, it got really kind of white, chalky white.
I like the composition there where the Cenobites are like, they're like doing kind of a triangle thing, and then they're just looking at Frank, and he's like advancing towards Kirsty.
got a fish hook in my I caught a fish hook one time. Not that bad, but it always reminds me of the time I went fishing and I caught with a.
Oh gosh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
That must have been painful.
Yeah, I mean, was it? It's yeah.
Especially because the hooks are a little barbed at the end.
Yeah.
You have to. Not a fun experience pulling it out.
And Pinhead is completely serene doing all this.
Yeah.
He's like, seen it, done it.
All four of them are.
I like that, device that goes up his back. I like that,
Yeah, it's like rib.
Those were cool. Like, in part 4, they had one too when LeMarchand gets killed. One of them, there's like a device.
Yeah, and on part 8, when they cut Lance Henriksen apart, it seems like they also have that big blade on a chain that they swing at him.
Yeah.
That's definitely
they
a
each have
moment.
one of those. So at this point, I'm not super happy with the movie. I mean, they said this is not for your eyes, and they're basically telling her it's okay to leave now. And now all of a sudden, like, no, we changed our mind. We want to take you anyway. And that always kind of bugged me that this is kind of like, well, we need a suspenseful ending for Kirsty, so now the Cenobites are going to become bad guys.
Yeah, well, they do say, make him confess himself, and maybe.
Yeah, that's true. They did say
we won't tear your soul apart. But I guess since she opened the box and since she saw too much, that maybe they were like, well, let's get her too.
Yeah.
There's also a debate about how Julia opened the box. Could y'all like to talk about that?
It seems like the Cenobites arranged her that way to me.
In the novella, she kind of drags herself onto the bed and puts on her bridal dress for some reason.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yes.
And then she's holding the box, and then she dies there. I don't know.
Yeah, they skipped it in the movie.
Mm-hmm. The way that Pinhead just stands there and lets her do this, when I was watching the movie for the first time, it made me kind of think that maybe the Cenobites had to follow some rules, like they can't touch the person unless,
or
it
they
just
can't
gave me
touch
that impression.
or they can't take the box away. I mean, I think isn't it that rule comes up later on, right? That it has to be in Hellraiser 3 that the box has to be given.
Yeah, with Joey. Mm-hmm.
Here comes so this is kind of neat that Steve comes, and you would think at this point he's going to come save the day, but
what I want to know is why is he there?
I know he's just a pointless character.
Yeah, I know.
Why does he show up at her parents' house
at
this time of night?
Right, she doesn't even live with her parents.
Right.
So then they move the wedding veil to the Chatterer instead of the engineer.
Yeah, because in the novella, Julia's head is removed and it's on her lap and she's holding the box. And then the engineer has the veil. It's weird.
So, yeah, Clive Barker drew all of these yellow effects onto the film.
And here, Butterball is the one that doesn't get sent back to hell.
Yeah, we were talking about that with Simon on our first interview with Simon, that Butterball's like wandering around the city after this movie.
I like the idea you came up with on our last episode where you asked, is Butterball's name because he's fat or because his head looks like a Butterball turkey?
Yeah, no, Butterball turkey.
But wait.
There's more.
Yeah. I love this part.
I like what they did with the engineer in the second movie, although he doesn't show up.
Yeah.
But you can find pictures of the engineer that were cut from Hellbound.
That's my favorite, is the engineer punching Steve in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also Kirsty wrestling the box away from Steve, because it's kind of like, yeah, you think you're here to help me, but you don't know anything about any of this stuff. Give me that stupid box. I'll do it myself.
Again, it shows how strong she is. I like
it.
Definitely very determined here.
Yeah.
And Steve says, "Oh, give me the box. I'll do it." She's like, "Get away from me."
Yeah, I'll do it.
What would he do with it? I mean, he had never messed with the box.
I know.
It's a little empowering moment there.
Yeah.
Little sparks dying away. It's over. I always wondered if when the box is open, if that kind of transports the house that the person is into a different dimension, because it seems like the windows become dark and you can't see outside the door, and so it's like, I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact of opening the box.
Yeah, maybe it makes a little hell bubble around the house. Yeah. So the door slams on its own, and then the windows start lighting up. And there was a big debate, and I believed this for a long time, that the house burns down and that she's walking through the wreckage of this burned out house. But it's not the case.
The dumping ground.
Yeah, they're somewhere else. When she throws the box into the fire.
If you only saw Hellraiser 1, that would be a totally appropriate idea to have. But
and that picture is burning, and the fire is right in front of the house. So I mean,
and there's furniture here that's burning up. So I like the burning chair.
But this does not look like a house that burned down at all. I mean, it's
unless the house kind of folded into itself and disappeared, like at the end of Poltergeist.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, y'all said the engineer showed up in
some pictures. Yeah, some pictures that were cut from.
I'll have to read the script again. I don't remember him being in the script, but that's pretty cool because I really like to see those.
Yeah, there's a picture of the engineer like picking up Julia's skin from the floor.
Oh.
Yeah, what's he going to do with that?
I don't know. Eat it, maybe.
And this is cool. It's so crazy. I mean, at the time this movie came out, it's like, who is this guy? Why is he turning into a dragon? And some people thought he was like the devil. And
I can see that. And of course, the sound of the blackbirds in Tempest, and the flapping birds. Mm-hmm. You heard this noise when he showed up in the pet store.
Yeah.
And if you watch The Forbidden, the short,
kind of similar kind of.
Yeah, there's also these blackbirds flapping against a window, and it kind of reminds of that.
So now, it must be him, right? Because if he's, with a different skin, because if he's the one that took the box.
Again, that's perfectly acceptable. I mean, it's up to the viewer to make up his mind about that.
And that guy on the right's not Frank. That's somebody else that he's selling it to. See, I always thought that they were going back to the beginning of the movie, and that was Frank until the Blu-ray.
It's funny because I was reading about Hellraiser Bloodline, and Hellraiser Bloodline's ending, or one of the endings that was written, was also about the Mino space station turning into a box, and then not exploding, but a giant hand would appear from the universe and would pick up the box, and then it would cut to the desk of Le Marchand finishing the box and be like, done. And it would be like that scene where he says, aha, I finished the box. Oh. So it would be like a time loop thing.
Huh.
Yeah. I like that ending.
Me too.
That was a ambitious idea for that movie.
I guess, yeah.
They weren't given the right enough money to do it right.
Man, it's effortless to watch this movie again. I have no problem watching Hellraiser. I could just sit down. It's as easy as breathing to watch this movie.
Oh, yeah,
just watch it and you have fun. And you could just recite all the lines yourself. It's just so fun.
I think about the budgets that some of these Hellraiser sequels have, and with that money, they could have made good movies all the way along. And, besides 1 through 4, I think they're all pretty terrible for the most part.
I don't consider the other movies any kind of part of the, I guess, whatever you call it, the canon.
It's, it turned into, it's kind of like the Transformers movies, because I used to be I guess I still am, a big Transformers fan. I I used to watch Saturday morning cartoons when I was younger, and I would watch all the Transformers ones, and I would record them on VHS, and I still have a lot of like homemade tapes with Transformers. But then the Michael Bay movie came out. I went to see it. I thought, it was weird. Didn't like it very much. I was like, it was a little too, CGI for my taste, and all the robots were undistinguishable from one another, and I kind of got disappointed. And then it's like now there's like 5 movies, and now every time someone says, or mentions the Transformers franchise, people think, the Michael Bay movies. Oh, you like those?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I like the movie that they did back in the 80s.
That's true. That's true. Those things sort of overshadow, what's really awesome. Like,
exactly.
And some of the Hellraiser sequels, they kind of overshadow the magnificence of the first movies.
Yeah, well, and especially when a new one comes out. I mean, Jesus, wait until we all are seeing Hellraiser Judgment in, what is that, probably January or whatever.
Oh, there is, and many special thanks to Anthony Randell of New World Films.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that must be, I knew it was Anthony, but yeah, it's Tony Randell.
Yeah. So the same thing happens with Hellraiser, I guess. It's, people nowadays, they think of Hellraiser and they think, those hokey movies that, like Revelations or,
Well, and it's the same reason that I always felt like it was a big letdown to see all the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels, too, because I loved the first one and the way Freddy was just sort of this silent, kind of mysterious, killer and monster thing. And
sure.
Then he turned into like making puns and doing all these ironic ways of killing people based on what they were afraid of, and I don't know.
For me, it kind of worked. Although I agree that the first movie, at least, and maybe the first movie, is a completely different tone than the sequels. Freddy Krueger haunted my dreams for a couple of years after I saw the first movie. And then the other ones, like the second one is just weird. It's kind of an odd man out. Then the third one was Dream Warriors, I think.
Yeah, I like that one.
And that's when it started becoming a little more like...
campy.
Yeah.
Like Bugs Bunny or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it worked for me as well because I never took it that seriously.
They did it well to,
Yeah.
I think that I have a problem with horror franchises in general. I don't...
It's like singles. You just like one film.
Yeah. I mean, it always seems like they're just trying to milk something, every time.
Mm-hmm. I guess I was never a big horror fan. I do like Hellraiser, and it was kind of like my gateway into horror.
Me too.
But I don't think of myself as being like a big horror fan. Like, I only saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacres once, and I was maybe like in my 20s when I saw it.
I still haven't seen them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of movies nowadays, especially that I'm just not into, like all those James Wan films, Lights Out.
I like monster movies, and and I like movies with ghosts and stuff. If there's something that's sort of creepy and makes you, get a chill down your spine and stuff. I think that stuff's kind of cool. But I'm
big into the '90s horror films.
Yeah.
After that, I just kind of like lost track of it.
I like the '70s horror films.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I like 70s, 80s.
And 80s, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess probably 90s too, but...
Yeah, like Wishmaster and stuff. And then they just started becoming weird. And nowadays, all the independent movies are just like models covered in blood. And it's like, I just don't think that's that interesting to me.
I also don't like the torture porn, industry, I guess. And
they don't make any good monster movies really anymore.
Yeah, and monster movies are more of what
in the vein of like Nightbreed.
Yeah.
Well, the last one I saw was that Harbinger Down with Lance Henriksen, the one that got kickstarted, and it was okay. I mean, the premise was very interesting, but then the third act kind of, I just thought it got a little weird at the end. But but that was good. It was great to see that movie, although I think. I was expecting something.
Another one called the Hellboy movies were good. Those were pretty cool,
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, they are not like monster horror movies. I guess they're more action,
fantasy.
The books are really kind of monster, kind of pulp.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the movies really, didn't capture that kind of tone.
But yeah, I think those are good. I liked Mimic too.
Yo, God, yeah.
And do you remember Relic with those monsters that had the pincers that would cut people's heads off? Yeah,
Relic.
Yeah, they were these. Yeah, they were these.
Stan Winston designed the creature for that. Yeah,
they were these big, like, quadruped monsters, and they had like bug pinchers for their mouths, and they would slice people's heads off with them. And they came out of some like Egyptian artifact or something. I can't remember.
I saw that. I saw that on that festival, Fantasporto. Mm-hmm. I think I saw it in the big screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, I remember that. Tom Sizemore is in that movie.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the kind of monster movie Clive Barker doesn't like, where a monster is a mindless beast that everyone wants to kill.
Yeah. Well, that was Hellraiser. So next we're going to do Hellbound?
Nightbreed.
Nightbreed. Oh, yeah, cool.
The 3 directorial movies, and then we'll go into Hellbound and
so we'll do the director's cut, right?
Yeah, director's cut for sure. Yep. I think that even practically speaking, we would get a lot fewer people to be able to watch it with us if we went back to the theatrical cut again.
Yeah.
That's true, but I would like to encourage people to go see the director's cut.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the director's cut, you can even watch that on Netflix right now.
Yeah, that's great, yeah. It became like the top movie on the horror section, I think, back when it came out on Netflix.
Yeah, but the theatrical cut, I mean, I guess you can still get that Warner Brothers DVD, but...
Sure.
I've not watched the theatrical cut when I sit down and watch that anymore.
Did you watch it on the Blu-ray?
Yes, I did before I watched the director's cut.
I did too. I wanted to see what it looked like, and it didn't really, it was good and stuff, but it didn't really. I just felt like I could be watching the director's cut right now when I saw it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I know.
You can find the show notes for this page and lots of Clive Barker news and features at www.clivebarkercast.com. Leave comments there or get them directly into the podcast by clicking the Send Voicemail tab on the right. Please follow us on Twitter at BarkerCast or at Occupy Midian. Like us on Facebook and join the Occupy Midian Facebook group. You can listen on the site or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, TuneIn, Pocket Cast, Google Play, and Double Twist. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Please take a couple of minutes to leave us a review on iTunes. It means the world to us and helps us spread the word about Clive Barker. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial fan site and podcast that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Films. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans.
Thanks for listening.